Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christy Rathbun, and I'm the Regional Director of Professional Learning for Scholastic Education. I'm so excited that you're taking some time to review this session today as an overview of your new Rising Voices library. You might be wondering, what exactly is Rising Voices? This is a phenomenal library collection of new books that you're hopefully unpacking as you watch this recording. The Rising Voices Library is a mix of nonfiction, biographies, culturally relevant and engaging fiction texts. These are highlighting stories of the underrepresented protagonists in our classrooms, boys of color. By fostering a classroom community that supports positive representation and equity, your students of all backgrounds benefit from widening the scope of the world in these books and beyond. You're also going to have some teaching resources, such as a teacher's guide and teaching cards that support the library to foster literacy and social emotional learning, making the content relatable to all of your students. There is a mission with Rising Voices, and what exactly is that as we look at the three goals? The first goal is positive representation. We want to elevate classroom libraries with engaging, authentic books that are representative of the complex, multifaceted cultures of all students. Our second goal, culturally responsive instruction. We want to equip you as teachers with the tools to implement curriculum as they traverse difficult conversations, including their capacity to celebrate academic, social, and linguistic backgrounds of all children. And the last goal is unifying your students. Through social emotional learning, we will teach all children in every classroom the importance of empathy and knowledge in understanding the identities of children whose stories have not historically been told in equal measure. So I want you to take a moment and pause this recording and think about what your current teaching practice aligns to when you look at each of the goals of the Rising Voices mission. Hopefully, you've given yourself a moment to really reflect about your current practice. But let's move on so you can learn a little bit more about this exciting, embracing library that is brand new to you. This particular library is books that are celebrating Black and Latino boys. Scholastic Education published the first Rising Voices library, which is what you have in your classrooms, which are really the books that are celebrating this particular population of students. The collection was curated in 2019, and it's providing all children and educators with this really unique opportunity of how you can interact with texts and provide the positive and multifaceted images, again, of those most underrepresented literary characters, which are Black and Latino boys. I'd like to explain the framework around Rising Voices. The collection of books and teaching materials are really centered around 5 themes. And this is really helpful for students to view as they connect to the concepts that resonate with their lives, their experiences, and their interests. So if you take a quick look with me at the framework, thinking about these 5 themes that you see here, I'd like to share someone like me, memorable characters, as that first theme. Then just take a look at that second theme of family, culture, and community. The third theme is around heroes and role models, followed by the fourth about strong and resilient. And the fifth is thinking beyond today. So you're going to see this as you really look through your new collection. So you might be wondering how this collection was truly curated. I'd like for you to meet David Banks. He is the president and CEO of Eagle Academy Foundation. He was the founding principal of Eagle Academy in the Bronx and the first to really network an innovative all boys public school in New York City. As of today, the foundation empowers at risk urban young men and really to help them realize their academic and civil potential through quality, immersive learning experiences. And so it's really important that we think about somebody like David Banks and how he was really able to help us curate in partnership with Scholastic such a great collection that is needed for your students and needed for you as educators. So again, the Eagle Academy Foundation, which David Banks is CEO of, really develops and supports this network of all male in grades 6 through 8 as college prep schools in some of the most challenged urban communities. So, as you learn a little bit more about Rising Voices, you might be wondering what's included. So, I'd like to take a minute and just help you unpack what's part of the collection so you can become familiar with some of the instructional materials and the titles at each of the grade levels. Each library includes 50 books per grade level. That is inclusive of 25 titles, including 5 anchor texts and 2 copies of each of those 25 titles. The 5 anchor texts are accompanied with 5 teaching cards. There's also a teaching guide, whether you're in K-2 or teaching somewhere in the range of grades 3 to 5, you'll have that specific teacher's guide. Included in what you're unpacking is the attractive storage bins and specific labeling stickers indicating that's part of the Rising Voices collection. The books that were selected for this library really expose learners to the rich language to motivate them, capture their interest, and it also introduces them to the historical, social, and linguistic context to successfully enter the real world. It celebrates the talents of many African American authors and illustrators. And because understanding that perspective is different from everyone, the authors and the illustrators here bring the text that they create as an importance of looking at windows and mirrors. As we talked about, the library is organized around the 5 themes that I previously shared with you. It's also important that we look at the students and teachers as an opportunity to make cross-text and cross-cultural connections beyond this library. It's really important to know about the thought of own voice. This library is 85% own voice, meaning the authors or illustrators are the same ethnic origin as the characters. And again, these are really celebrating not just African American authors and illustrators, but also with Latino as well. I'd like to just take a quick walkthrough with the teaching guide. So your teacher's guide, again, there are 2, either a K-2 version or a version to support grades 3 to 5. If you take a quick look here and walk through what's really highlighted through your teacher's guide, you have implementation strategies to support the integration of all of these texts through book clubs, whole class opportunities, small group, as well as independent reading. The teacher's guide also provides suggestions for English learners, providing engaging discussion prompts and creating tips for those safe environments, because sometimes these are very difficult conversations. The teacher's guide also provides tools to facilitate whole class read alouds and literacy instruction to meet your students where they are. You'll also notice as you flip through your teacher's guide, inspirational essays, materials to help you really foster that respectful classroom discussion, embedding empathy, social justice, and inclusivity. And last but not least, it's also inclusive of tips to help you as educators Share this information with your families and connecting these classroom materials to learning at home. When we continue to look at our innovative materials as part of this library, we're also looking at anchor texts and teaching cards. Each grade level includes 5 anchor texts, one aligned to each of those 5 themes, and each of those anchor texts has a corresponding teaching card. These might support read alouds, prompting comprehension, and scaffolds at higher level thinking skills. We also can consider deep discussion and support for social emotional learning. So you'll want to take a look at your teaching cards that align to the anchor texts. On the back side of these teaching cards, it's really providing you with the book and really tips about supporting after reading, as well as the planning purpose and during reading strategies. So again, your teaching card is two-sided to provide you with some guidance and support to successfully implement and integrate this into your instruction. If we take a look at the social emotional learning and how that's really inclusive in your materials, I'd like to take a note and just have you pause here and look at this chart. You'll notice a few things. One of them is the CASTLE competency. So CASTLE is that collaborative for academic, social, and emotional learning framework. So if you take a look at that first column of the CASTLE framework, you'll notice self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness. That is included relationship skills and responsible decision making. So as you pause this recording for just a moment, think about and take a look at the CASTLE competency in accordance with the goals and the assessment, and that last column of focus, what that focus really is. So it's communication, social engagement, relationship building, and teamwork. If I just take the relationship skills competency from the CASTLE framework and highlight that for you. So again, I want you to pause and look through the 5 competencies of the CASTLE framework and really just take a moment to read through the goals and assessment and the focus that aligns to it. Welcome back. I'm hopeful you had a moment to just really take a closer look at how all of this looks when we're supporting social emotional learning through Rising Voices. I want to remind you that today is just an overview of your new library. However, you have additional professional development coming your way. Our team of Scholastic literacy specialists works side by side with teachers to facilitate the culturally responsive teaching and help you with your students and all of their backgrounds so they can benefit from these stories of the diverse characters in these engaging, authentic texts. So beyond the recording that you're listening to now, you will all have an opportunity to register for a live virtual training that's coming up in the next few months. And that's going to be an opportunity for you to really dig in a little bit more for your success as you're teaching with your new Rising Voices library. I want to thank you for your time today to listen to the recording and just have a quick sneak peek of what the power is within the Rising Voices library. Thank you so much for your time.